Welcome to Violin Adventures number 247. This week we work on a violin from the 1800s. Hope you enjoy. Okay, here we are with another violin. And this violin has a label that is a Strat, and of course it's not. It's not old enough. But this is an older instrument. And one of the ways you can tell is the neck is a shorter neck. So the plan is, since there is a little crack developing down here, I'm going to open it up, and depending on what we find inside, we'll determine if we're gonna give this a longer neck or just leave it a Baroque style instrument, okay? So let's open this up and see what's going on. So this violin is opening the way it should. You get your knife in there and it just slowly opens, cracks open very easily. And especially being this old, it shouldn't be that hard to open. But you never know. One thing you have to be careful about is the wood is so old and lots of times very brittle. Okay, looks can be really deceiving. There were sections of getting the top off that were so hard to loosen up, but we've got it open and I'll show you inside. Okay, you can see the top here, and I really enjoyed looking at this while I was opening it up. You can see how nice the grain is, how straight and even. And here right off you can see that the ribs, there's no corner blocks, and the ribs are very, very rough. Just see that this was quickly done again. Now here's the top. And I'm just noticing here, this is the crack. That's why I opened the violin, and you can see it's had some glue pumped into it. So we can see right off what we need to do, right? We need to remove this mess. And we're working up for a question and answer episode. So if you have any questions you'd like me to address, please leave them in the comments below or send me an email. So this is a real good example. It's a beautiful violin. A real good example of not looking on the outside because the inside can be really bad. The outside may look wonderful, but the inside can be all fake. So I've got this cleaned out. You can see the label is a copy of Strad's label, and they numbered it 1771. So I'm going to write on their copy so that the next person doesn't think that it's the real thing. Stradivari would never do this kind of work. Okay, here we are the next day. We know what we've got to do. This has got to come down, and let's just hear what it sounds like right now. Well, the open crack is rattling, so that's affecting the tone. But let's see how thick it is. In this area right here, we're up to 6 millimeters thick. And most of it is a little over 4. And just look Look how fat this one is too. Because this isn't a new piece of wood, I'm very careful how I graduate it. But right now, I can't get a good tone because of the two cracks in the top. So I'm going to clean out this crack and re-glue it, and then we can check for tone. But before we do that, we've got to make a fresh batch of hide glue. All right, we've got our nice, fresh, and hot hide glue, and I'm going to glue up these cracks. Okay, I think it looks like we're done with the back. We've got the corner blocks in, and I'm just checking the lower block, and I think it looks all right. So we just need to finish up the top here. That's got good, strong possibilities. So I'm going to finish up the graduation. Okay, that's sounding good. You have to be really careful when I'm carving something down because it's an old piece of wood. It's not a new piece of wood, so it's not. This is still heavy. If only it were a couple minutes to fit the base bar, but no, it was about an hour. But it's all fit now and ready to glue up with our new fresh hide glue. Time for a story. All right, it's time for a story. And this time I found a little bit on Ole Bull. He was a famous violin player, especially here in the United States. And he caught my eye because my mentor, Albert Muller, really appreciated him. And I guess probably worked on his violin. Here's a picture of him. And I looked up in here to find out a little bit about him. So he was born in 1810 and died in 1880. And he was born in Norway, but eventually came over to the United States where he was really well received. And some people felt that he was as good as or even better than Paganini. He also shared a room with Frédéric Chopin for a little bit in Paris. I found two little critiques of Ole Bull, and they were written so well, I thought I would share them with you this time. So we're reading out a famous violinist, and we're on page 150. Since the death of his great master, the weird Paganini, Ole Bull has been left without a rival in Europe. His entrance upon the stage is remarkably modest. The tip of his bow brings a crash from the orchestra. He then lays his cheek caressingly on the instrument, which gradually awakes and wails and moans like an infant broken of its slumber. Every tone seems fraught with human passion. At one time he introduces a dialogue in which a sweet voice complains so sadly that it makes the heart ache with pity, which is answered from another string with imprecations so violent and threatening that one almost trembles with fear. We fancied that a young girl was pleading for the life of her lover and receiving only curses in reply. At the close of the first piece, the Adagio Maestoso, there was one universal shout of applause, which afforded an infinite relief to a most enthusiastic house that had held its breath for nearly 15 minutes. Ole Bull came before the curtain and bowed, with his hand upon his heart. There is something different in his performance. from that of any other artist, and yet it is difficult to describe the peculiarity of his style, except that he touches all the strings at once and plays a distinct accompaniment with the fingers of his right hand. But the charm is in the genius of the man and the grandeur of his compositions. He knows how to play upon the silver cord of the heart, which binds us to a world of beauty and vibrates only when touched by a master hand. Okay, and there's one more critique that was written very well, and this was written in February 1844. To what shall we compare Ole Bull's playing? Was it like some well-informed individual who has seen the world and who spices his tales of men and things with song and story, now describing the beauties of Swiss scenery, now repeating the air which he caught up one moonlight night on the Bosphorus, and anon relating a stirring joke which he gleaned on the boulevard? Such a man would create an impression on any small tea party, but that violin did more. The comparison fails. There might be to him who chose to give rein to his fancy a vision of one moment of the old ivory-covered church and the quiet graveyard, the evening sun streaming through the rich stained glass, the organ faintly heard through the long aisles and the deep chancel, and around and about the singing of some bird of late hours and the hum of the bee as he flew by, well laden to his storehouse of sweets. Then the clouds flew fearfully, and the wind moaned through the boughs of the old oak tree in its winter dishabille, and so down to the seashore when it rushed over cliffs and crags and knocked off the caps of the mad waves and sped on like a tyrant, crashing everything in its way and rejoicing in its might. And so we glided oddly but easily enough into the ballroom, where the mirth and laughter, bright eyes, fairy feet, and all that was good and pleasant to behold flitted by. It was not all music that Ole Bull's violin gave out. There were old memories and pleasant ones, ideas which shaped themselves into all manner of queer visions, and the main difference between Ole Bull and those I have heard before him seemed to me to consist in this: that whereas many others may excite and hold by the button, as it were, the organ of hearing and the mind therewith immediately connected, Ole Bull awakens the other senses along with it and occupies them in the field of imagination. All right, and it looks like the next person we'll cover is Camilla Savory. Well, until next time, Freddie wants to chat.
Hi, I'm Freddie, and I'm so happy my friend Mr. Lloyd Pons sent me a picture, and here it is.
Mr. Pond reports that he is enjoying playing the viola that we restored. He also sent along the picture of his Silver Strings Orchestra, and he is the one standing just in front of the clock in the back. Thank you, Mr. Pond, for writing and sending this lovely picture.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd Pond, for that picture. And don't forget, everyone, to send me your projects or your pictures. See you next time. Bye.
The Hebrew Minute. Tov lahasot bahashem mivtoach bin davim. It is good, or it is better, to trust or find refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes or in noble ones. If you know where this is found, please leave it in the comments below. We've got a beautiful summer day. I don't know if you can hear the birds, but they're very happily chirping away. Let's go look at the creek. Well, here's the creek. Everything is looking good. Let's see what's going on in the shop. And here's the violin we've been working on. Next week we'll hope to take down that bass bar and close up this beautiful violin. Just a reminder, we have a question and answer episode coming up. So if you have any questions you'd like me to address, leave it in the comments below or send me an email. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your great comments. Thank you to the new subscribers. And until next time, bye.